Hey guys, how's everyone doing? So just to get straight into things, just want to introduce the person that I'm sitting across. So the power of the internet, power of social media is very crazy, and I've never met Dan until today, like in real life. And I guess what has led to this podcast happening is I saw one of his posts as an ad, and it was pretty much like Dan. It was one of those wordy type of posts with a bit of B-roll behind it, and it was just how this guy's Dan. He's living in Bali. He's helping fitness coaches become better coaches, and a big thing that stood out to me was like he didn't want a fancy car or like wanted like a massive house. It was just a lifestyle thing, which is something that I really like. So without any further ado, welcome Dan.
Thanks, great to be here. Yeah, I think on that point, a lot of coaches do seem to want the same thing. You know, they don't want the big house, the fancy car, the nice watch. They just want to serve people, but also enjoy that nice quality of life that Bali or Australia or a place like this provide.
Mm-hmm.
It seems to be a very attractive thing within the fitness industry as a general. I don't know if that's what our priorities are. I think most coaches, we get into the industry because we want to help people, don't we? We don't get into the industry because we want to make a ton of money, which is a little bit of a detriment to most coaches. I speak to tons of coaches who are brilliant, great coaches, but then they're struggling financially. And then because they're struggling financially, they're only in the game for so many years. They forget that they're serving other people. That's their purpose within the industry and within life. But they forget to look after themselves. I think a lot of us do align with those goals of simplicity, freedom. We don't need a lot to live on. We find fulfillment within helping others. Essentially, I think most coaches.
That brings us to a really good point, which is because I see that a lot too. In even back in Australia, the turnover for personal trainers is quite high.
Like maybe it's huge in England too.
Maybe the average career lifespan of a PT is like 1 to 3 years, and what that ends up making or creating is you never have very seasoned personal trainers with a lot of skills help people. It's always going to be these more newbie trainers. So what you said before, it's going to be very important to teach fitness pros how to sustain their living, because the longer you're in the game, the better of a coach you can be.
100%,
right?
Yeah.
So in your kind of experience thus far, like what are some ways you've been able to help these coaches do that? Do you think it's a mindset thing? Do you think it's a strategy thing? Like what have you noticed so far?
So what I do is I help coaches with the business side of things. So as I was saying before, a lot of coaches are great coaches, and it was probably the same for you. When you get into the industry, you're not thinking about marketing, sales, or anything like that. All you're thinking about is how can I become a better coach? The types of courses that you're looking at are advanced courses, biomechanics courses, nutrition courses, S&C courses. You're not looking to how can I attract new clients or how can I make more sales or how do I actually need to structure my business. It's an afterthought, which is a good thing to begin with because you can get so far doing that. Because if you're a great coach, you'll get referrals and you'll get so far on referrals. You can build a brilliant coaching business based on referrals. But for a lot of gym floor PTs, they get to a certain point where they hit burnout, where they've been doing it for, say, 3 to 4 years. They're doing great. They've got lots of clients. But then they suddenly realize, I'm in the gym 10 to 12 hours per day. I stay at home for lunch where I train myself, have dinner because there's no point going home. I can't do this forever. If I want to take a holiday, I actually lose twice as much money because I have to pay for the holiday and I'm not earning money at the same time. I can't have sick days because everybody relies on me. And then that's when things start to unravel a little bit. So passion can get you so far, and you can build a great business based on passion by bringing in referrals. But then everything starts to unravel once you realize there needs to be a better model for coaching, or I need to have come up with a better model. And most coaches realize too late. They get to a certain point where they're coaching, say, anywhere from 6 to 12 people per day. You know, some coaches that do crazy hours. And then they just think, I've done everything wrong, but I don't know how to fix it. And then that's where we come in and help them just take back a little bit more time, a little bit more freedom, so they can still earn great money. They get fulfillment from coaching, but they can coach at a better capacity because they have more time for themselves. They're not hitting burnout. They're earning great money, and that transfers into better coaching for their clients. So that's how we help in terms of. It's essentially focusing on the coach. A lot of coaches, they spend their entire career looking at how they can improve their service for their clients. What they really need to do is look at how they can actually sustain a long-term business. So that's what we help with the business side of things.
So a question that I've asked you when you've done those like kind of Instagram question thingies is how to, because where I'm at in my kind of coaching business right now is how do I sustain a consistent lead flow? And you kind of mentioned like a sales engine or something. Did you say engine? Was that the?
Yeah, so I like to call our lead gen systems engines because that's essentially what it is. That's how we build a sustainable flow of leads, of new clients, sales, of cash. It's what every business needs. Every single business in the world thrives on lead gen. It's all downhill from lead gen. I think it was Dan Priestley that said that. If you don't know Dan Priestley, incredible author, incredible entrepreneur, definitely look him up. So this is one of the first things that we tackle for most coaches, because most coaches do want more leads, especially if they're coaching online. So we tell them, rather than, which is what most coaches do, they grab their phone, they think, right, I'll send 50 DMs per day or 100 DMs per day, which did work in the past. Doesn't work anymore. The market's too saturated. So what we try and do is build something called a lead gen machine. So in your world or your audience, 50% of your audience will never buy from you. They're just nosy, interested in what you're doing, but they're never going to buy from you. It's just a fact. 45% are something called later buyers. 5% are the now buyers. When people are posting to social media, trying to prompt on stories, DMing people, which is most coaches' strategy, especially online, you're only really reaching out to that 5%, the now buyers. So you've got a tiny little pool of your audience that you're trying to connect with. And they forget about the other 45% who may buy in 2 weeks' time, a month's time, maybe up to 3 years' time. The big difference between the now buyers and the later buyers is trust. So we need to build trust. So the whole point of this engine is to build trust. But we want to do this autonomously. One of the biggest gripes that a lot of coaches, especially online, I'll speak from the point of view of online coaches actually as we're going on. But it's transferable to face-to-face coaches as well. One of the biggest gripes that a lot of online coaches have is that they're constantly in conversation with random people on their phones. They're texting people all day who they don't really know. They don't know, they're coaching essentially, they're giving advice, but they don't know how to turn that into a sale or a client. What they're trying to do is build trust with these people and connect with people, build relationships, and they have their fingers crossed that this person will then say, I'd love to work with you. Obviously that doesn't happen. We need to lead the conversation. So what we want to do is autonomously build trust and coach. So this is happening in the background and we're not doing any of it. So you can set something up and it's really easy. It's just email marketing, which has been around for years and years and years, but for some reason coaches seem to have forgotten. I think a lot of people who grew up with social media forget that there are all of these different modalities of lead gen. It's not just about social media. Big businesses thrived before social media came along. So what we do is we help our coaches build lead magnets. We can go into lead magnets a little bit if you like. Most coaches, they build a lead magnet just for the sake of it. So it's a free ebook or something like that, and most of them are terrible. A lead magnet has to solve a problem quickly. It needs to be low risk, low commitment, and solve a problem which is occurring in your future client's life right now. So, for example, we built one the other day for a CrossFit coach, and it was get your first muscle up in the next 14 days with these 3 proven drills, rather than free muscle up guide, which is the direction that most coaches go in. Now, which one sounds more attractive? The 14.
There's a goal oriented.
Yeah. Get your first muscle up in the next 14 days with these 3 proven drills. So we start off building a lead magnet like that. We promote the hell out of that lead magnet, whether that's organic or whether it's using ads, and then you plug that into an email marketing sequence. But that email marketing sequence can go on for as long as you like. We have our first 14 days are quite sales heavy. We're talking about testimonials, we're telling stories about, we're bringing up problems. We are resonating with our reader. We're showing that we understand the problems that they go through, and then we're showing that we've solved these problems in the past with testimonials and reviews. And then it gets more into kind of coaching. So the emails get a little bit fewer and further between, but the emails they're either coaching or they're prompting specific action. So in the background, and this can be running for up to 3 years, the guys who have downloaded your lead magnets are constantly being prompted by you, either coached by you or prompted by you, and you're not having to do a thing. So that's what I mean about building an engine. And then it's up to you whether you put in resources into organic marketing or money into advertisements, essentially, to then feed that machine. The machine requires a resource. It's either going to be time, energy, or money. It's up to you which resource you put in.
You're cool. So, just taking it all in. So I currently have a lead magnet. I haven't pushed it very, very much. My one is pretty much like 15 foods you can find at an Australian food court that are macro friendly.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
But yeah, it's cool to hear the process through which you kind of push it out to the audience that you're speaking to.
This is quite common, to be honest, with coaches. You know how you said you've built a lead magnet, but you haven't really pushed it a lot. A lot of coaches, they build a lead magnet, and then they spend a lot of time, they put a lot of energy into building these lead magnets, and some of them can be quite good, but then they'll pop it onto their story, or they might do one post about it. And then if it doesn't pop off, you kind of forget about it and you think, okay, what shall I try next? It's like shiny object syndrome. Whereas you want to build a lead magnet will never be one and done or perfect.
Yep.
We have to do a new lead magnet almost every couple of weeks. I do a new lead magnet every single month. I market that lead magnet hard, push it out on my feed, push it out on my stories. I deliver the lead magnet, which for me would be a live webinar. Once it's done, I push it out a little bit further. I push out the recording essentially. I'll pop it into my funnel and then I move on to the next one. So you want to think of your lead magnets more as long form content. The same as any other piece of content, you do it, you put it out there, you move on to the next one. Same thing with your lead magnet. Solve a very specific problem with that lead magnet in a unique way. Push it out there hard. Make sure that you actually market it, because it's not just going to pop off just because it's free. People don't need another free thing in their life. It needs to solve a specific problem. You need to push it hard. You need to make sure it's underneath the nose of your target audience, and then you move on to the next one.
Okay. No, so that's really good, the way you contextualized it with how like you make a post and you move on. I think at least in my situation, I made it and then I wasn't sure of like, should I continue to like share this type of thing? But
why would you feel not to? Just out of interest.
Half of it was out of laziness.
Okay.
And half of it was like, I think at that point I was just experimenting. I was just like, all right, let's try this. And then just kind of seeing what sticks and then using that as a direction, a guide to like do more of that.
Do you feel like you would annoy your audience if you reminded or posted about something too much? It's what I hear quite a lot with our coaches. They don't market something enough because they think, oh, all of my audience has seen this now. I can't repost this. I have to move on to the next thing. And that's where this shiny object syndrome comes from. So they're constantly jumping from one thing to another because they think, oh, my audience is going to get annoyed with me trying to peddle this. But all the best marketers peddle something every single day for an extended period of time before moving on to the next thing. Because the majority of your audience aren't actually going to see your posts anyway. Like we know how hard it is to grab attention now on social media. Even if you end up on your audience's feed, they're probably going to swipe straight by it and you don't know what they're doing. Most people, when they're scrolling now, they're driving, they're sitting on the loo, they're doing whatever, like they're not sitting there and concentrating on what they're scrolling through.
Yeah.
So we need to try and reach out, a number of times.
I've changed my mind on that. Yeah, because maybe, and it was because of like a Hormozy video. He was pretty much saying that people need to be reminded more than they need to be taught.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's full of great quotes. It is.
Yeah. And the other thing he said was like, you'd be surprised. He challenged like the viewer. It was like, find the best post you made last year. He's like, I guarantee if you post it again, it'll pop off again.
Yeah, 100%. I was actually having this conversation with a coach yesterday. And she was saying about how she notices with certain influencers that she follows, a lot of the stuff is very repetitive, but she'll still watch it. She's still intrigued by it. And there's only so many things that we can talk about, especially if we're niching down as a coach and you're trying to identify specific problems. A lot of stuff is going to be repeated. And I think it takes something like, I'm going to absolutely butcher this, but it's something like 12 touch points that it takes for someone to
make a decision.
Yeah. I think it's 12, something like that. It's a high number, a bigger number than what you think. So that's something that a lot of coaches can do today. Is if you have a new offer, if you have a new lead magnet or you're trying to promote something, promote it 5 times more than what you think you need to. And it's just a very simple thing where you can get so many more eyes on it and you'll get a lot more sales from doing that. Yeah.
Cool. So to kind of, I guess, rewind a little bit just to kind of hear you.
We're kind of tangent.
No worries. Because there's a lot of people who want to do this digital nomad online coaching lifestyle. And it's funny. So I joined a run club like a few days ago. It was a Bali run club. And there was another guy who, after the run, I was just chatting with him, and he pretty much does a bit of like an agency. He pretty much does what you do for barbers.
Oh, okay.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I just asked him, I was like, how many, and because we were talking about coaching and all that kind of stuff. And I just asked, like, just based off your experience so far, he's been here for 2 years. I was like, how many of these online coaches are actually like making a living? And he thought about it for a bit, and he said, probably a quarter.
I would say less than that.
Wow. Okay. So my question then is, a lot of people want this lifestyle, but in your experience thus far, because how long have you been here? Or how long have you been doing this kind of online coaching business type
So
of
I had a transition. I was coaching everyday clients how a normal personal trainer would, and then I packaged it all up into the course that I'm doing now, where I actually serve other coaches. Essentially, it's like a mentorship. So I've been coaching online for probably 2 or 3 years now, but with this business for the last year.
Cool. So, yeah, it's a very kind of traditional tale of, like, you see a guy say, "Oh, I'm going to work off my laptop as an online coach." They announce their coaching business. They get a decent onboarding of clients because they announce it. But then after that initial influx, they aren't able to get consistent lead gen.
Yeah.
They're here for 3 months, and then you see them back at home.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
what have you done to be able to sustain this?
So it's working on lead generation. It's making sure that I have a steady flow of leads coming through the door. Because this career is there are lots of highs and there are lots of lows. And it's all related to how much attention you're getting, how many leads are coming into your world, how many sales you're making. If you have a bad few weeks, you're low. If you make a sale, suddenly you're at a high. And I didn't want that within my business. I wanted to know that I can rely on it, that it feels sustainable. So for me, it was building those lead gen systems. So I do use a lot of ads. I don't do any outreach just because I knew I didn't want to be doing that with my job. The point of when I built my business, it was all about freedom. I didn't want to be sitting on my phone having multiple conversations every single day and trying to chase people. That's not me. That's not how I want to build my business. And those are the principles that I use when I'm helping other coaches build their businesses as well. So I use a lot of ads. I'm in the privileged position where I have the cash flow within my business to use ads. We don't get coaches on ads straight away. We only move them onto ads once they've proven concept, so they can actually generate leads organically. But the great thing about using ads is that this machine just runs in the background. It takes a lot to get ads running. A lot of coaches, they mess ads up because ads usually come from a point of frustration or desperation where they can't generate leads organically. So they think, I know what I'll do. I'll put $200 into boosting this reel that I've just done that popped off, and I'll get clients. It doesn't work like that. Like, you need a strategy to ads. You have to do your research, or you have to do a course. That's what I recommend anyway. So I built these systems that help me generate lead flow. But then I think the main thing is I consistently deliver value. So every single post that I put out there, and I was talking to a couple of coaches yesterday, actually. Don't put posts out just for the sake of it. So if you're putting a post out and you're talking about the benefits of zone 2 training, or this is how you do a deadlift, yeah, they're great posts, they're educational, but they don't really connect with your audience. They're not high value because they're not solving specific problems that are causing me pain or anxiety right now. If I'm a middle-aged guy back in England, I have let's say a managerial job. I've got a young family at home, time poor. My concern at the moment is not how to do a deadlift or the benefits of zone 2. It's how do I fit in training into my life? Yeah, or how can I motivate myself to go to the gym after I've had a hard day at work, I'm stressed out of my mind, I've gone home, I've put the kids to bed, now I just want to relax. Those are the pressing concerns. So with every single post that I do or lead magnet, I make sure that they address real life problems. I'm not trying to educate too much with that. And it's a very subtle switch. I try not to educate. So you'll never really see me do a reel or a post where I'm explaining how to build an email marketing sequence or how to build a landing page. It will be more about how to generate leads, what to say on a sales call. If you're failing at sales, this is what you need to do instead. It's always, I understand that you're concerned with this problem. This is how you solve it. And because I'm consistently delivering value or delivering this kind of information, that's what keeps organically, that's what brings leads into my world, essentially. I think that's what keeps me current. It's a very, very subtle thing, but if coaches can make this subtle change with their content and always think about what is the pressing concern, where are the pain points, what's the problem, how can I address this with a novel solution? I'm not putting out content there just to educate. Yeah, educational posts are fine every now and then. You want to show your knowledge, but you need to build trust. You need to connect. You need to show understanding and empathy.
Isn't what you're doing a sort of education?
So it is education in a way, yes. But what I mean in terms of education is probably not the best word to describe these are the types of posts. But do you know the type of post that I mean where you
Top 3 back exercises.
Yeah. They're great. Every now and then you can pop these out, absolutely fine. But if all of your content is based around this, it's almost, it's not useless knowledge, but it's not pressing. That's not going to stop me from scrolling. I don't urgently need to know your top 3 back exercises. I urgently need to know how to motivate myself tonight when I can't be bothered to go to the gym. Or I drive a lot for work. When I pull into the petrol station at lunchtime, what's the best thing to pick up for lunch or for a snack? Mm-hmm. These are the pressing concerns.
I'd like to think it's educating through... you're educating them by resonating with them emotionally.
Yes.
Versus those exercises, like no one is like, I need those like kind of like top 3 nutritious foods or top 3 exercises. They don't make someone like lay there at night thinking about it kind of thing.
No.
You know, versus like motivating yourself and like, oh, like my friends think I'm fat type of thing. Like those things are what someone who is potentially looking to fitness probably thinks about. And then when you can educate them on that front, maybe is that kind of what you're...
Yeah, it's all about empathy. So in order to convince someone to become a client, or in order for someone to make that decision that they want to invest in you, they need to have trust in you. To build trust, we need to show understanding. And that's how you do that with these types of posts. You're not going to show understanding by telling someone the best bicep workout. Don't stop doing those. You can. They're great and they're easy things to push out. It's almost like, for me, it would be filler content. Mm-hmm. There is a place for it, but don't base all of your content on that. And I know a lot of coaches struggle with creating content. And what a lot of them will do is then go straight onto ChatGPT and then ask for 50 ideas for content. And it spits out all of this type of content. Mm-hmm. So they put it out and then they wonder, why is nobody DMing me? Why is no one engaging with me? Why is nobody reaching out to me? And it's because, you're showing knowledge, but you're not showing understanding. Mm. There's a million other coaches out there who are just as knowledgeable as you. Yeah. If you want to stand out, connect with your audience. And you do that, like you said, by triggering certain emotions.
This is a really interesting point because so back at home, I'm a physiotherapist too. So I've been kind of doing this kind of hybrid thing. I'll do physio face to face, and I have this online coaching thing. So when I first was starting the physio type of work, a lot of the courses were like, try needling or biomechanical courses. And as I kept working, I noticed that yes, of course, people do get impressed by people with, like all these abbreviations behind your name and like your certain certifications. But I found that the more I focused on, like, let's say the psychology stuff, the just human behavior, all that type of stuff instead, I was starting to get better results with my clients. And I found that I haven't spent much time like upgrading my like clinical skills, we'll call it. Now I just focus on like how to be a good listener, how to like sit with someone when they're not in the best headspace. And I found that's reaped way more results and also referrals. So I think it just, I guess it's common sense, but like PT, physio, like healthcare, or just these are all people-based services, and the better of a people person or communicator you are, like that's the thing that shows the understanding. That's the thing that shows the empathy, and I think that ultimately seems to, at least in my experience over the last few years, which is what I've been focusing on, it's just reaped way more benefits for me.
Yeah, it depends on your target market, who you're trying to attract as a client. I do know some people who would want the type of coach who is not going to listen to them, who is going to bark orders at them, but what you usually find with those types of coaches, people look up to them. So they want a coach because they're looking to aspire to be like someone. So they invest into someone because they think, I want to be like you. I want coaching from you because I want to mimic essentially what you're doing. So there's a market for everybody, but like you say, if you can connect with your market, if you can show understanding, if you can listen, that's what a lot of people want as well. They want more than someone who can just show them an exercise. Mm-hmm. For a lot of people, this is the only hour in their day that they are actually spending on themselves. So they do need time to actually vent a little bit as well, and they're seeking help because they have anxiety, or they're frustrated, or they may be a little bit embarrassed. They may be worried about going into the gym or what they should be doing. So there's a lot more going on there than I need to be great at showing someone how to do specific exercises.
Yes. Yeah. Which I think a lot of trainers probably go into it thinking it's going to be like that.
Yeah, and I think that's because it's a relatively young. People who get into personal training, they get into it young. And so they haven't really developed themselves yet emotionally. The emotional intelligence just isn't quite there. It does develop the more time they spend with clients. Some people it doesn't. But I think coaching in general is heading that way now anyway. So I've actually just partnered with a coach, and she does a lot of CBT training. She helps a lot of women with anxiety around binge eating, emotional eating, and things like that. And this is a huge hole in a lot of coaches' game. If you think about most PTs, they know nothing about this kind of stuff. So what they're trying to do is essentially address the symptoms. So if somebody's overweight and they're overeating, we try and address that symptom, and most coaches would say, okay, well, let's start tracking your calories, let's start tracking, and all we're doing is essentially just putting a Band-Aid over this huge wound. Yep. If we had a better understanding of the underlying mechanisms here, like some of these other coaches, we would become so much better equipped. And I think coaching in general is going to start heading this way. It's not going to be enough anymore to just understand exercise or understand the mechanisms behind, say, fat loss or building muscle or performance, depending on who your target market is. We need to know a lot more now. It's going to be a lot more of a well-rounded service going forward, I think.
It's good to hear, because that's kind of how my coaching is based.
Oh, great.
So yeah. Sweet. Cool. So just to kind of get to know you a little bit more, Dan. So what prompted you to leave, I guess, cold England and live in Bali?
So I fell in love with Bali years ago. It was before COVID. I spent a lot of time over here. I was backpacking around the world, and whenever I was gone for an extended period of time, and whenever I needed a little bit of home comforts or security, I would essentially just come back to Bali. Fell in love with it. I feel like everybody who comes to Bali does fall in love with it. So it just always had a place in my heart. I moved back to the UK because I was coaching at the time. I owned gyms in the UK as well. I always felt like I had to have a base there because that's where my work was. And looking back, I think it was just the easy route, because I knew if I went traveling, and this happened a couple of times, where I'd build a business, get it to a certain point, think, I'm screw it, I'm going to sell it, I'm going to go traveling. I would go traveling for so long, come home, rebuild the business, and just repeat the cycle. And I think it was just out of, not laziness, but essentially it's a comfort, because I knew I had clients back there and I could start making money right away. But I knew it wasn't right for me. I've always wanted to travel. I've always wanted freedom. This is really geeky, but the image of what's the meme? The Lord of the Rings meme, where Bilbo Baggins sticks his bag on his back and he's like, I'm going on an adventure. That's me. That's what I want. Mm-hmm. I want to be able to put my laptop in my backpack, go anywhere that I want in the world, but still be able to support myself through work and get fulfillment as well. Yep. I like helping people. I like helping other coaches. That's what I wanted. That's what I knew I needed within my life. So it got to the point where I was at home where the gym was doing pretty well, but I just wasn't very happy. I was in a relationship that was great, to be honest, but again, it just wasn't fulfilling me. It's not quite what I wanted, I think, at that time. And it just came to a certain point where I thought, right, I just need to go for this. Like something, it needs to change. So I sold the gym. I moved out here, developed the business further, and it took off, and I've never looked back. But here isn't the end goal, to be honest. Bali isn't the end goal. I've probably been here longer than what I thought I would. The goal was to keep moving around and keep traveling and see if I could sustain the business as I move to places like Cape Town. I want to spend some time in New York. I want to spend some time in the Alps skiing, climbing, things like that. But there is a bit of a bubble in Canggu, and you get sucked into it.
Right. Is that more like the lifestyle, or is it more like the type of people that are here?
Both. The lifestyle is obviously great. It's very, very cheap. You have, everything is so convenient. You've got the beach 2 minutes away from your villa. You have these beautiful villas where you'll have a cleaner, you've got a pool. It's for the price that I would pay for a 1-bed flat where I used to live in the UK. But then the people here are great as well. People are very open here. It's very easy to make friends. Like I said at the beginning of the podcast, this is the first time me and you have met, but straight away it just feels like we're friends. Mm-hmm. It's just the people that Canggu essentially attracts. And there's lots of entrepreneurs here as well.
Yeah.
People are very open-minded, very willing to help each other out, and very supportive. In the UK, we have something called tall poppy syndrome. I bring this up in every single podcast. People are probably getting sick of it by now.
It's actually an Australian thing.
Oh, is it an Australian thing?
Because poppies come from Australia.
Oh, okay. So it's essentially, what it means is people cut you down. So in the UK, and I think it's because of our sense of humor, which is quite similar to Aussie sense of humor.
Bit dry.
So yeah, it's very. If you start talking about how you want to build this business, or or you have these dreams, or you want this or that, people straight away will just go, "Oh, shut up, you wanker."
Yeah.
It's kind of So people cut you down. It's just our sense of humor. Whereas here, the first thing you'll hear back is someone will give you advice, or someone will say, "Oh, I know someone who can help with this," or "Oh, there's this dude down the road. Like he's done that. Like, do you want to meet him for a coffee?" And so all of a sudden, things just start to happen here. So it's a great place to be if you are a young entrepreneur.
I heard that from the Run Club guy too, the guy who does the agency. Because I asked him, like, everyone likes the lifestyle, but is there any kind of benefits from a business perspective? And he said it's like the type of the network you have here.
Yes.
Because he says, like, at least at the Run Club, like, it attracts a certain individual who's willing to wake up at 6 a.m. to run. So, and I think a large percentage of those people were business owners.
Yeah, this is the thing. There's two sides to Canggu. So if you're going to places like run clubs, to CrossFit classes, or to martial arts classes, or you're hanging out in co-working spaces, you're going to meet these people very, very quickly. And everybody here are looking to make friends. So everyone's very open. You can very quickly make a friend over a coffee with someone who's sitting next to you in a coffee shop one day. Be going for dinner with them later that night. There are lots of opportunities for that, a lot of opportunities to connect. Whereas the other side of Canggu is the party side. I know you're experiencing both on this trip.
Yeah.
So if you're hanging out in those circles, those kind of opportunities probably won't present themselves as much to you. So you can have two completely different experiences of Canggu and Bali, depending on how you spend your time here.
Yeah, cool. Just the final question on, like, you moving here. Did you have any limiting beliefs that you had to overcome to make the move? It kind of sounded from what you said like you were like more than ready to make the move. But was there a bit of like, oh, will this work out? Or like, oh, I'm going to not be able to see my friends and family? Like, what was that process of actually being like, all right, we're doing it. We're actually going to live in Bali? Yeah,
100%. To be honest, I didn't come with the intention of I'm going to live in Bali. I came with the intention of, right, I'm going to go and travel. I want to live out of my backpack. I don't really have a plan. It was the first time in a long time that I didn't have a plan. My main concern was I still need to sustain my business. That when I came out here, that was the main goal, was I need to prove that this business can still work wherever I am in the world. Luckily it did. And I think it only really did because that pressure was on. A lot of people, they set up coaching businesses while they're doing something else, and a lot of them struggle. And believe it's because they don't have that pressure. When your back's up against the wall,
You have to make
it
it
brings the
work.
best out of us. Yeah. So I had to make it work. And because I knew that I wanted this lifestyle, that was in jeopardy if I couldn't get the business to work. Luckily, the business, it was working and it was thriving before I came out here. The goal was, let's just see if I can sustain it while I'm here.
Yeah.
There is a little bit of a, when you come out here, because obviously you want to make the most of being here. So I was probably working a lot less because you want to get down to the beach for sunset and things like that. You're not really putting in the time. And I did see the business dip a little bit, but then you start to realize you build a little bit more of a routine and then you start seeing it pick back up again. So that was the main concern, was just, I need to make sure that this business can continue to thrive, because otherwise I'm going to end up back in England, back at square one.
Yeah.
Friends and family isn't a huge concern for me. I think it's because I'm at the age, so mid-30s, where all of my friends have families of their own.
They have their own lives.
Yeah, they have partners, they have kids, their own houses. So we'd very rarely actually get to meet up anyway. So that wasn't a huge concern. It wasn't like it was going to take a huge part away from my life. To be honest, I was probably more concerned that I couldn't go and watch the football. To be honest, that was probably a large concern. But that ties into my friends as well, because I would do that with my best mate. And the thing is, the world is so, people don't realize, but for me to get back home, it's half a day. Yeah,
Right.
Or a day is traveling, and I'm home. And flights I like flying. I like long haul flights. You just sit there, eat, and watch movies. It's not a hardship. It's actually quite a nice thing. So it's not as scary as what you might think if you want to try something like this, but you do have to ensure that you can provide for yourself and that your business is sustainable.
I think the difference for you was you had the confidence in already having established businesses. Right?
Yes, that's probably a big part of it. But if you don't have the confidence, invest in someone who can show you what to do. Get the fast track. I have mentors. They tell me exactly what to do, what I need to be working on, and that's what gives me the confidence to be able to do what I do. And it's exactly the same for other coaches. If you're winging it, or you're watching YouTube episodes looking for the secret sauce, you're not going to get it.
Yeah, that's a really big one. I think when one of my clients found out I had a coach, they were surprised. And then I was like, most coaches have coaches. And that's why we became a coach, because we saw the value of having a coach in the first place. So now that's really cool to hear.
Yeah, it's essentially the fast track. Learn from someone who's done it before, whether that's in well-being, health, fitness, performance, business, mentality, relationships. If someone has experience, learn from their experience and you'll learn 10 times faster.
100% agree. On the topic of well-being, and you yourself being a health pro, like fit pro, like we'd like to think you also invest in your own fitness and health. What's one thing that you specifically do for your own well-being, and what's something you don't do to make sure your well-being is good?
So something that I always do is activity that I find fun. I have struggled with activity recently. Well, not recently, but probably in the past 3 to 4 years, where it has dropped on my priorities list because business became much higher. So I would find it hard, and this is something that I'm still working on. It's finding balance I find quite hard. So I would be trying to squat with my laptop open next to the squat rack, and in between sets I would be going back and doing emails.
Wow.
And things like that.
Right.
And this is something I've had to work through. And it's not because I had a ton of work to do. I was finding work. It's because that's where I wanted to spend my time. So what I found recently is, this was because I think I was doing a lot of activity that I thought I needed to be doing, but I didn't particularly enjoy anymore. So all the basic weightlifting stuff. Spending a lot of time in the gym as well. So I used to do a lot of Olympic lifting, where you need to spend 2 hours essentially plus in the gym. It's just taking up too much time. And it got to a certain point where I thought, I don't even enjoy this anymore. And I clearly am not holding this as a priority. So recently it's been getting back into things like boxing and mixed martial arts, playing more sports, learning to surf, things that keep me active and make sure I move every day, but I also enjoy. I'm not just thinking of it as I need to go to the gym.
Yeah.
So that's one thing that I try and do every day. I'm still working on it. Things that I don't do, I wouldn't really say I restrict myself out of, I'm going to stop doing this. I wouldn't say I forcefully restrict myself on anything. I do like a drink, but I don't really binge drink. It's just not me. I'm quite introverted. I'm quite quiet. Like a big night out is not my cup of tea.
The reason I ask is because I think a lot of people, like biohacking, optimizing health is a really big thing at the moment. So people are always trying to add these like new routines, like sauna or red light therapy or like viewing sunlight in the morning. But I think a lot of people don't think about what can they subtract from their life to make it better.
Yeah. So what's having like a negative influence on your life? What can I get rid of?
Yeah.
I don't.
Has there been anything that you've been one common one is like, let's say, like unconsciously scrolling social media, like.
Okay. To be honest, there's nothing that I purposefully try and reduce. I don't really scroll a hell of a lot on social media anyway, especially if I'm busy. I use social media as a tool for my work. It's not really for entertainment. And I definitely used to be, but a great way to get rid of that is just unfollow all the things that aren't helping you. So if it's just entertainment, get rid of it. So TikTok, for example. I would find myself scrolling TikTok for 20 minutes and then think everything that I've just consumed in the last 20 minutes was crap. There's nothing, you don't learn anything on TikTok. Half the time you just think this is made up or this is a lie. So deleted TikTok. It's not helping me, it's not helping my business, so why do I need it on my phone?
Yeah.
But there isn't anything that I purposely think, I'll try and restrict that or I won't do that. I should probably, at this point, if I'm trying to find more balance, I should actually probably restrict work at specific times during the day or periods maybe. I don't hugely feel the need to because I really enjoy my work. So say if it's a Saturday evening or a Sunday evening, I do find it hard to just relax and chill out and do nothing. And what I actually like to do is work on my business. I would prefer to spend that time creating something new, whether it's a new resource or maybe it's working on a new project or something like that, or planning a podcast. That's how I like to spend my time. But then I do get comments all the time, whereas you do need to find balance, you need to relax some time, you need to take time for yourself. But that's a hard one because I feel like I'm spending time on myself when I'm doing that.
Yeah, I think health and fitness coaching is one of the few things where, because a lot of people don't associate work with enjoyment, right?
No,
it's a chore, and that's why they need to do hobbies outside of it. But we're really fortunate to be in an industry where it's extremely fulfilling.
Yeah.
So I get it too. Like sometimes I just want to do more coaching stuff because it's actually enjoyable. It's nice to help people and make a living out of it. I feel like it's the best thing.
Yeah, it's incredible.
You know?
You found your passion. This is the lucky thing. You found something that you're passionate about and you can align it with work and how you make money and how you survive. I think over 90% of people never find this.
Yeah.
How many people are in jobs that they hate and they waste 8 hours plus a day doing something that they don't enjoy doing? We're in such a privileged position.
It's definitely a privilege.
Yeah, where we can do what we love and make money from it and support ourselves through that.
Yeah. So even though it's a privilege, I also think it's like it's in a conscious decision, right?
Yeah, we had to make it work.
Because for me, it might have been easier to stay at a certain job, but I wanted to do something that didn't feel like, let's say, inverted commas, work.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it's definitely a blessing to be a coach. A few more kind of like business/strategy type of questions. What do you think is, in your experience, and you can just be kind of like brief about it, but what's like the number one kind of lead gen tip you have for coaches? What's like the number one coaching tip you have for coaches, and just in general in a whole business sustainability sense? So like lead gen, actual coaching, and business. Do you have like a tip for each?
So in terms of lead gen, it kind of goes back to what I was talking about before. Build this engine for yourself. Make sure that you have long form content out there, these lead magnets that solve real world problems, low risk, low commitment. You're not asking too much from someone, and make sure that then leads into some kind of automated email nurture process. You'll find all of a sudden you'll just have this steady flow of people entering your world, filling in your application forms. People will start reaching out to you. You don't know where these people come from, but if you can build these systems, everything's happening in the background for you. And there's more to it than just the email marketing systems. We do a lot on Facebook as well, with Facebook groups and the entry questions and automated posts and things like that. But if you can build these systems, you'll build a steady, reliable flow of leads. And I cannot stress enough how nice it is on your mental health as a coach to see that. When you wake up in the morning and someone's filled in your application process, or someone's reached out to one of your emails, or someone's been prompted, or they've sent you a DM. So think past, post, and hope, which is what most coaches do. That's what I would say for lead gen. In terms of actual coaching, is the number one thing you need to have is empathy. So if you don't have empathy, or you don't feel like you're very empathetic, maybe you're a little bit of a drill sergeant, better understand your clients. So understand that they are not coming to you just because they want to lose a little bit of weight. Okay, what's the underlying thing there? That's what we need to address. So in terms of improving your coaching capabilities, look deeper and better understand your target market. Because a lot of coaches don't. Because a lot of coaches, they grew up playing sport. They've always been in great shape. They've always been relatively confident, or they're outgoing. They're people. People. Is that a phrase?
Yeah.
And we forget that a lot of people aren't. They didn't play sport when they were a kid. This might be the first time they've ever done any activity. Mm-hmm. They walk into a gym and they may be thinking all day or all week about going to the gym, and they're terrified. They don't want to make a fool out of themselves. They walk into a gym, they're looking at these machines and they think, oh my God, I have no idea what to do here. I do sometimes. I'll walk into a new gym, I'll look at a machine, and you get that feeling where you're a bit like, oh, I don't want to look a fool. I don't want to jump on this machine, play around with everything and make a little bit of a fool out of myself because I look like I don't know what I'm doing. So if I have that fear, and I've been in the industry for nearly 18 years, someone who's never stepped foot into a gym is definitely going to feel this. So better understand your target market, work on your empathy. In terms of coaching, what was the third one, sorry?
Just business as a whole, a fitness business, online fitness business as a whole. Like, do you have a tip?
Online fitness business, if you can fix your lead gen, that will do a lot for, one, your business, and two, your mental health. You'll enjoy your work a lot more. I think a lot of coaches, they do struggle with running an online business, and it is because it's very emotional. And our emotions are tied to our engagement, our lead gen, our sales. So going back to that quote, everything is downhill from lead gen. If you can fix your lead gen, everything else will start to come into place. I'm a big proponent of using systems to buy back time as well. So a lot of our coaches, we build a lot of systems for them that deliver a better service for their clients. So we use a lot of automation. Automation can be a bit of a people think of it as a dirty word because they think automation is taking away from the service. We use automation to give a better service, but also take back time for ourselves. On the front end, it takes time and knowledge for us to build, but once you've got that built, you'll have a lot more faith.
Freedom. Oh.
You'll have a lot more faith in your ability to actually get results and to actually please and satisfy your clients. And you'll actually have time, you'll buy back time that you can spend on working on your business rather than within your business. So right. Get rid of all of those admin tasks, just make sure that's all taken care of. Then you can actually spend time on, okay, how can I improve? How can I make this service better for my clients? What kind of resources can I now build to bring in, future leads and future clients? I'm not sure if I actually answered that third question for you.
That was good. I think when you said everything is downhill from lead gen, I think that's pretty much makes sense because most people, I guess, they choose employment because there is that steadiness or stability, right? Yeah. And I think one of the great things about it being working for yourself is you learn a lot about yourself, like how well you can handle the ups and downs. But ideally, there comes a point where it'll be great for it just to be a bit more stable, right?
Yeah.
It sounds like as long as you can influence that stream of people coming in to use your service, then it's probably a lot easier to sleep at night.
100%. Most coaches are actually shooting themselves in the foot. And it goes back to what I was saying about that shiny object syndrome. A lot of coaches, they try one thing, but they don't push it hard enough. And then they move on to the next thing. They watch a YouTube episode, then they move on to the next thing. They're not consistent enough or patient enough. And so they're trying all of these things, and then they'll reach out to someone and say, I've tried all this, it just doesn't work. They just haven't put the work in. Essentially, if something isn't working, work harder. And the results will come.
Cool.
It takes a very special person, I think, to work for themselves and become a coach and sustain your own living.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm on
and
that.
Kudos to everybody that can do it.
For sure. Because as we stated before, there are a lot of entrepreneurs, right? And they see the glamour of the lifestyle, but it's another thing to actually make it work for like up to 2 years.
Yeah.
Right? To do it for 3 months it's probably not as hard, obviously not as hard, but yeah, to know that you can actually do, I like to think of it as like it's financial freedom, right? It's like, that you're able to consistently make money.
Yeah, and to be honest, this is what I promote within my business. Like, there are other people who do similar things to what I do, and the way that they market their services is with nice watches, Lamborghinis, big houses, and things like that. Right. It's the opposite for me. I do like to set financial goals, and I like to set financial goals for my coaches, but it's not because of these materialistic things. It's because of the freedom that earning a recurring and sustainable, reliable income can give you. It's you can then eat where you want to eat and not have to worry about it. You can live where you want to live. You can jump on a flight and go and check anywhere out and know that your business isn't going to stop. It's the freedom that money gives you. And I think that's why a lot of people are drawn to our services, because they are aligned with that.
That's what drew me to your service in the first place. Yeah. All right. So the other question I had for you is like, is there a certain quote that you live by or like has really helped allow you to move forward in your life thus far?
I'm not a huge quote person. I've got one, and it's actually on my phone, and it's huge. So I'm just going to read it off rather than try and remember it.
Yeah, go for it.
So it's by a guy called William Arthur Ward. It's called Do More. So do more than belong, participate. Do more than care, help. Do more than believe, practice. Do more than be fair, be kind. Do more than forgive, forget. Do more than dream, work. Do more than teach, inspire. Do more than earn, enrich. Do more than give, serve. Do more than live, grow. Do more than suffer, triumph. And I really like that quote because it just encompasses being better every single day, holding yourself accountable and trying to be a better person with everything that you do, and do everything to the best of your ability. And I very much like that. I know that won't align with everybody because it's very intense, but that is how I try and live my life on a daily basis.
That's what my podcast is about. So like that completely, my podcast is called 99 Everything, which is like, for me, it's like, you could be the most shredded, most jacked bodybuilder, but what if your family life is terrible, you have no money, and emotionally you just hate your life? Or you could be that super rich, wealthy billionaire, but you have heart issues, right? Like that quote that you just read out is, if you can apply it to like multiple dimensions of life, like I feel like that's the most fulfilling life.
Yeah, you need to work on everything. You can't just work on your business, or you can't just work on your physique. You have to work on relationships with friends, with family. You have to work on yourself. You have to find fulfillment. You have to find... There's a lot of buzzwords that float around Bali. Being English, we take the mick out of a lot of them. But you have to find moments where you are present and where you are grounded. And this would be something that I'd snuff at previously. But now it's definitely becoming at the forefront of my life. Like, I need to find these moments. And there are definitely a lot of areas within my life that I need to work on, that are weaknesses. And that quote kind of encompasses, or at least you need to try to improve upon these things.
Yeah. I think the other thing that I thought of when you read that quote out is action, right? So there was a part where it was like, you can dream, but dreaming only gets you so far, right? Like,
you've got to put in the work.
Most people would dream, like you said it earlier in the podcast, everyone who experiences Bali, like sees all these digital nomads and like, oh, that would be a dream, right? But to actually make that a reality requires like work, requires like sacrifice, it requires like certain things that you have to actually intentionally do.
100%. A lot of people get into online coaching, and whether they're in Bali or whether they are still back home, wherever that is, and they get into it with the intention of, I'm going to work 2 hours a day, spend my time in a coffee shop, spend an hour on Canva making pretty pictures, and it'll be absolutely fine. It's not like that at all. You have to put in the work, you have to grind, you have to find a routine. If you do have the intention of moving out to Bali, make the most of your time in Bali, but you do need to make sure that you are still staying true to what you promised yourself, which is I'm going to build a sustainable business.
Yeah.
And it is still a grind.
Yeah. Yeah. What's something you're currently working on or that you're excited about in your field of work?
Too many things at the moment. So it seems to be at the moment, in the past month, the amount of opportunities that have popped up. I don't know why. It's gone crazy. And something I'm trying to work on at the moment is better managing my time. So I'm about to launch, because most coaches, they want a mentor, but they know that having a mentor is quite expensive. And it's expensive because of the experience and the knowledge that we can give, but also the time that we have to put into people. So it can't be a low ticket item. So, and a lot of coaches have reached out to me who want help, but just simply can't afford it. They're just not at the point within their career. So I want to help these guys. So at the moment I'm building like almost like a foundation course. We're calling it the Accelerator, where it's like a shortened version of the mentorship, which I do, which is essentially going to be a 3-month course. Everything's all online, so it's all in video kind of episodes. You get weekly support via group, but it's at a much lower price point. So price to entry is much lower. It's much easier to start getting going. So I'm really excited about that. That'll be launching in about a month's time, I think. We've got the podcast, which is launching now as well, which we're going to carry on straight over into this. And then we're actually launching an education platform very soon as well. So we're going to start getting personal trainers qualified. So we're launching a platform that will qualify you as a level 2, level 3 personal trainer. Would it be the same in Australia?
We call it Cert 3, Cert 4, which is similar.
Okay, yeah. So they translate across, so you can get the same qualification. Our qualification is UK based, but it means exactly the same in Australia. What we want to do is better equip coaches. So you can get qualified with us, get your level 2, level 3 as a personal trainer. But then what we'll also do with that is give you all of the business knowledge and the business modules that all other coaching qualifications miss out. They may say that they have a business module, and it's usually terrible. What we'll actually be doing is focusing 50-50. So 50% of your time and attention will be focused on the knowledge that it requires to become a coach, and then 50% of your time will be spent on building a business for yourself, which is sustainable. So you can coach, and like you said at the start of the podcast, but actually sustain your living so that you can become a better coach and actually still be in the industry 5, maybe 10 years down the line. So that's something I'm very, very excited about. So it's essentially going to be a wrapped up qualification where you'll work on becoming a qualified coach, but also an equipped entrepreneur.
That's really cool. There's definitely a market for it because, I think a lot of people know the nutrition and training side of things, but it's it's all this business stuff that us more health, aesthetic or fitness health. Yeah. We don't go into that stuff with the money business type of mindset, right? Like I didn't do any subjects in high school relating to economics or finances because
I didn't either.
Yeah, I was just straight up physical education, some biology. So that's always been something that I'm more interested in. But just as a result of doing this and just learning skills and evolving as a coach, that stuff starts to become more and more interesting. Because I guess those skills help you, they just help you become a better coach and make it a living.
You don't want to pass your qualification, then all of a sudden realize, I don't know how to make this work. I'm qualified, but now what do I do? I actually remember when I did my qualification, and this is going back a long time, this is 18 years ago, and we spent the year doing the qualification, went through college, got all the extra qualifications that come with it, and it was on the very, very last day, and I've forgotten what we were doing. It's pretty much one of those days where you're just messing around, and one of the dudes said, the guy who was coaching us said, all right, does anyone have any questions? This is your last opportunity to, I guess, speak to us for any help or guidance. And the guy raised his hand. He goes, "Yeah. So how do I get clients?"
Wow.
But even the coach, I remember, he was dumbstruck.
Yeah.
And they come back with these answers, these draconian answers, which are things like, get yourself a clipboard, start walking around the gym, taking emails, saying that you're going to run a competition. They all seem to say this for some reason. It's like, this doesn't work anymore. Well, it might have worked 18 years ago. But that's because the majority of the people who go down that route are essentially either failed coaches or couldn't make it work themselves, so they didn't need that extra income. So they just don't know. But yeah, so we'd just gone through a whole year of getting qualified to become coaches, but then we had no idea how to actually build a business. So your first thought is, okay, well, I'll go and work for maybe like a fitness center or something like that. You start stacking towels, handing out locker keys and all that kind of stuff, earning your dues. And maybe you may figure out how to make it work, but you're figuring out how to make it work yourself.
Yeah.
Nobody helps you, and this is what we want to try and change.
Yeah. Cool. So if anyone is interested in what you do, Dan, like where can they find you best?
So my website is Fit Pro Coffee Club, or I'm not sure what my Instagram handle is actually. I think it's Dan_the Fit Pro Coffee Club.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Okay, great. Yeah. So they can find me there.
Yeah. Awesome, man. But yeah, that pretty much concludes this podcast. Like I said, this podcast is called 99 Everything. It's about maximizing multiple dimensions of life. And just through this conversation thus far, I've, like fitness-wise, like you're pretty jacked. Business-wise, you're helping other people learn how to improve their businesses. And from a lifestyle perspective too, it really seems like you embody the title of this podcast. So yeah, it's been great to speak to you.
Yeah. We're all working on something. But yeah, on the surface, it can look like that.
Yeah.